This just into CBS Sports HQ. The Patriots are releasing wide receiver Stefon Diggs after just one season in New England. That's been confirmed by our Jonathan Jones. The Pats will save just under $17 million in cap space with his release. Diggs led the Patriots with 85 catches for just over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns last season. He'll now enter the new league year as an unrestricted free agent. He leads the team as the first 1,000-yard wide receiver in Foxborough since 2019. He earned the second highest catch percentage in the NFL, behind only Michael Thomas there at 85%. Steph Diggs coming in at 83.3%. Of course, we got to figure out what's next for Stefon Diggs, the wide receiver. And to do so, we bring in our former Patriot, Logan Ryan, joining us here on HQ. Logan, you've got 5 landing spots for Stefon Diggs, potential landing spots. And we're going to start with your number 5 team, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, Haley, look, Stefon Diggs can play ball. When you are leading receiver for a team that was in the Super Bowl, after the age of 30, off an ACL, to go for 1,000 yards is not easy. So there's still ball left in his career, and Kansas City makes a lot of sense. One, they can handle any type of character or whatever you're worried about Stefon Diggs. I think that locker room can handle that. And when I look at the wide receivers in the Kansas City Chiefs locker room, you have Rashee Rice. That is going to be your high-volume guy, and Travis Kelce. They both operate out the slot. But then you see Xavier Worthy there. He's kind of your Z wide receiver, and Hollywood Brown. They're speed guys. So Xavier Worthy's the speed guy. I like Stefon Diggs as an X wide receiver on the other side of the field to win the one-on-one battles. He did that well in New England. I think it's a good fit for him in Kansas City. I think Andy Reid can handle that. And I think if he wants to plug in, Patrick Mahomes, when he comes back from his ACL, is going to need some new reinforcements this year.
All right, let's maybe stay a little close to home here at number 4, not moving too far away. The Jets, number 4 on your list, Logan.
Yeah, the Jets need help everywhere and anywhere on that roster. And I think Aaron Glenn, I think he wants personality. I think he wants character. I think he wants grit. I think he wants a dog. And Stefon Diggs is that. Competing against Stefon Diggs, he's one of the most tenacious guys out there. He believes he's the best in the world. And I think the Jets need that. You have Garrett Wilson, who's a star wide receiver. You have the young wide receiver in A.D. Mitchell. But I think Stefon Diggs is a proven winner. And I think his character, or him in that locker room, in a sense, as a football player, is going to teach these wide receivers how to get open and catch the ball. That's what he's done. But I would love an older veteran with Garrett Wilson to show him the way. He's a great young talent, but I think Stefon Diggs and that young Jets roster can do well for them to have some toughness on the field.
It's interesting looking at that Garrett Wilson statistic there, 395 yards last year, and yet he led the team in receiving yards. That tells you how dire the situation is for the New York Jets. All right, let's move on to number 3, Logan. I'm very interested to hear the explanation here. You like the Detroit Lions as a spot.
Yeah, the Detroit Lions is a complete opposite scenario than the Jets. They have a ton of experience at every position, and I think Dan Campbell, he didn't like how last year went. And I think he wants to do something about it. And what are they going to do? If they add Stefon Diggs to that lineup of Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot and Jameson Williams as a Z wide receiver, who's kind of the fast wide receiver of the bunch, if you look at that, right, and you add Diggs in there with the tight end and Jahmyr Gibbs, that is a formidable offense. And I think the Lions have kind of took it really far. The NFC Championship last year took a step back. Is this window closing? They're losing some of their players in this free agency. Obviously, you saw that with the David Montgomery trade. How long can they keep this group together? So I think Dan Campbell and Stefon Diggs fit perfectly. That's a coach and player that I think is a great mix. Maybe that's the cherry on top that the Lions are looking for, to add a Stefon Diggs to make it a more dynamic offense.
It would be fun to see those 3 guys all rotating in. It would be definitely a lot of personality, as you said earlier in this segment. All right, working our way through our top 5 landing spots for Stefon Diggs, we come to number 2. Could be a potential New Orleans Saint, Logan.
Yeah, Kellen Moore is a great offensive mind. I think the Saints finished the season really strong. They found their quarterback in Tyler Shuck. Now you got to get guys to throw him the ball. They obviously traded Rashid Shaheed away, right, to the Seahawks there. So they need help at wide receiver. Chris Olave has yet to stay healthy in his career in the short part of it, and I think he needs some help. And I think Diggs is a guy that can help that offense. I think it's an offensive head coach, and they are going to spend money this year. They are finally out of cap hell. They're in a good space to spend money. I think Diggs, again, is a guy, a tough, tested wide receiver to add that character and grit to your wide receiver unit. And when I look at Kellen Moore, I played against the Dallas Cowboys when he was offensive coordinator. They had wide receivers all over the place. You look at the success he had in Philadelphia, wide receivers all over the place. 3 great ones, right? And I think that the Saints need to add some volume to their wide receiver room. I think Diggs could be a fit there for Kellen Moore and the Saints.
I think the Saints, could be sneaky this year, especially when we saw how Tyler Shuck really came together at the end of the year. You add Diggs into that mix. It could be interesting. All right, Logan, your number 1 landing spot for Stefon Diggs is linking up with Cam Ward down in Tennessee with the Titans.
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans. It seems like a great fit for me. They obviously need help in that wide receiver room. Too many drops last year. A lot of guys leaving the room. I don't even know who's coming back in the room. There's that much. They're going to draft wide receivers, right? And a lot of this is going to depend if guys are going to be found in the draft. I don't know if Stefon Diggs is going to be a day 1 free agent signing. He might have to wait a little bit. So the draft might determine that. But look at the connection here. I want you guys to look at this. Brian Daboll. He was his coach, the offensive coordinator in Buffalo when Diggs was going off in Buffalo. Obviously, he's the offensive coordinator now in Tennessee. He needs to revamp this offense totally. That's bottom 2 in every single category. I don't even have to highlight that. The screen does that for you. It is not good. Anyways, Cam Ward needs help. He needs wide receivers that know how to run good routes and catch the ball. That's what Stefon Diggs does extremely well. I think Brian Daboll is someone who understands Diggs. He's had success with him in Buffalo, deep playoff runs when he was there together. And why doesn't he go get his guy, Stefon Diggs, in free agency at some point with a bunch of young wide receivers they draft to try to help Cam Ward and turn this thing around quickly in Tennessee?
Logan, you've given us your top 5 landing spots. I'm curious, though, from a play standpoint, when you look at Stefon Diggs, what does he still have left in the tank here?
He just went for 1,000 yards off of an ACL. And I've never torn my ACL, but I know that is hard to do. So however you feel about Stefon Diggs personally, he still knows how to play the wide receiver position really well. There's obviously some off the field stuff that people need to look into. I'm not a lawyer, so I got to do my due diligence in that. So we got to see how his cases are all resolved and what happens in that. But when he's on the football field, this guy's tenacious. He's confident. He brings an energy and juice to the wide receiver room that he's in, and he's able to get you 1,000 yards. He's proved that last year, and another year removed from the ACL doesn't make me think he's going to fall off a cliff all of a sudden. So I think he has some good years left in him. I know how hard the guy works personally. He trains extremely hard, and he has a lot to prove, and he plays with a chip on his shoulder. So some of these young teams, I think, can use that if they can handle the personality. Some of these older organizations, these older teams like the Chiefs and Lions, can use that extra piece as well. So that's why I had a mix of teams there. But I feel like Stefon Diggs has a couple years of good ball left in him. I'm eager to see where he ends up.
1,013 yards, 4 touchdowns. He said his goodbye on Instagram from New England, but we will wait and see where he lands. Logan Ryan, always good to check in with you, my friend, bringing us the latest when it comes to Stefon Diggs, now a free agent. And we want to give you a look at the notable upcoming dates in the NFL. We just had the Combine pass. So up next, of course, we shift back to the current NFL players. Free agency getting ready to get underway. We also have owners' meetings at the end of this month before the draft. I believe we're about 53 days away from that draft in Pittsburgh.